everybody and welcome to my channel. Today's video is targeted to women mostly, but if you're a man and interested in the subject, feel free to stick around, but if you don't, still subscribe. Don't go far away. We're gonna have a lot more videos about financial aspects of dentistry, practice, purchasing, and all other beautiful things in the future. But today we're gonna focus on a subject that I was personally very interested in when I was applying to dental schools, and on the subject that I keep consistently getting questions about. It's not really related to school applications per se, it's kind of its own thing, but nonetheless it's very important, and it's family planning and having kids in dental school in general. How hard it is it possible at all, is it worth it, and stuff like that. So if you're a young lady who is very interested in having children in the near future, but also doesn't want to be a stay-at-home mom and want to be a doctor, stick around. We're gonna discuss it all. All right, you guys, I didn't have a video for a very long time. I climbed out of my cave and life has changed a lot since then. So quick life update. Practice is sold. Baby number 2 on the way. I work in a private practice now, part-time, that brings me a ton of money. I didn't know I could make that much money. And I'm very happy. It's tough, terrified. Baby's on the way pretty quickly, so we're gonna have a kid really like in 3 months from now. Not taking a maternity leave. We're gonna see how that's gonna go with 2 under 2. I'm a mom of 1.5 and 2 on the way, so I'm a mom and I'm a dentist. I was a mom and a practice owner. I was not a mom and a student, but I have known people who are moms and students. So we're gonna just talk about what the rhythm of life with a child and apply that to the rhythm of life of dental school when you're a dental student, and you can make your own decisions. If it's something that you would want to pursue, if it's something that you're interested of going through the trouble of, then you can go ahead and do that. I talk mostly about advanced standing programs. So for people who are dentists in a foreign country who are coming to the United States and applying to a 2-year program, which is advanced standing program, to get a license here in the US. And it's a little bit different for people who are American and who are just thinking of going to dental school because their process is longer. We're just going to discuss both. It doesn't really matter. A lot of people, when they come to the US and they're planning to apply to advanced standing programs, the reason majority of time is that they got married to an American, or they got married to a person who got a visa to America or has a job in America, and they just got married, so they're pretty young, they want to have a kid, but they also want to figure out how their career is going to go after this. So this is a very common subject of discussion, especially for foreign dentists. Not that American dentists don't really care about that, but the age that Americans have kids, I feel like, is a bit later, and they're not usually married when they go to dental schools, when it's a little bit different for advanced standing program students. Those people are usually all locked in. So when it comes to advanced standing programs, you are going in for 2 years, which is great. Even if you do decide to have a baby in between of the entire program whilst you're still there, you just have to survive 1 year, half a year, or 2 years, even if you have it in right in the beginning. What's wrong with you? That's a terrible decision. But no matter it is, 2 years is survivable. When it comes to 4 years, it's much longer. That's a positive part of the advanced standing program and women there. But when you come to an advanced standing program, you are applying to a program that collects all 4 years in 2 years. So you have much less time and much less relaxation and breathing room when it comes to the curriculum. So you have twice as many subjects as the American students would have in their normal span of the dental school that they usually have. So you're putting yourself in a position when you don't have weekends, you don't have any time off, because you're studying for the double of the exams that normal curriculum is planned for. So when it comes to taking care of a child that is taking majority of your time, it is going to be more difficult for you if you're in the advanced standing program rather than in a regular cohort of an American class. Take it as you will, but you're kind of losing here on the advanced standing program side. When you're in dental school, and if you are thinking of having a kid during the program, I have seen that. A lot of my classmates, well, not a lot, but like 3 or 4 of my classmates definitely had kids during the programs. They were pregnant. We even had a girl who brought the car seat to the lab because we were studying for CDCA, and they were like, where am I going to put the kid? And they're just sitting there in a car seat when she was drilling teeth. I don't think it's advisable because there's a lot of like plastic and stuff that's floating around. I don't think it's good for the kid to breathe that, but it did happen. So it is totally doable if it's the route that you want to take. And we also had people in my class who had just had a kid and they just got in, so they had a newborn at home. Totally doable, absolutely. But if you're kind of thinking, is it worth it? Would I advise to wait for at least like a year and a half and be pregnant at the end of the program? Yes, I would advise that. That would be probably the best decision. So if you're applying to the program now and it is nerve-wracking because you actually don't really know how long is it going to take me, am I going to get in this year? Maybe it's going to take a long time and the clock is ticking. I'm not getting any younger. Should I just have a kid now before the program and just apply now? If you're making the decision, wait at least until the end of the application cycle so you know for sure you're not going to school and it doesn't end up there like, okay, I'm pregnant now and I have to go to school and it's my due date. Wait until the end of the application cycle so you know for a fact that, okay, I didn't get in or I did get in, or whatever the situation is, and then decide if this is now the time to get a kid, basically, to get pregnant. If you are in dental school, what is the best time in advanced dental program to have the child? It is actually better to have a newborn when you start your program, in my opinion. Every newborn is different, but my newborn was really not difficult. She was pretty easy. They're not really doing anything. Compared to the toddler age, they require a lot less care. Well, they just can sleep there all the time. You have to feed them and they sleep. So they require a lot less attention. When a toddler always has to be entertained and it is much more difficult to watch them. So it's actually better, in my opinion, to have a kid before you start the school, because they're in the first year of dental school, they're still a child and it's much easier to leave them home with somebody else. Of course, if you're not breastfeeding, if you're pumping or formula feeding, it is easier to do that rather than when they're a toddler and you actually have to have somebody to watch them, figure out a nanny situation or a daycare. If you don't know, in the United States, daycares are pretty easy. They take kids from a very, very young age when they just like lay in bed there and they're just changing their diaper. So from a few weeks old, from a month old, you can give your kid to a daycare if that's what you want. It is doable. So you can find somebody who will watch your child for you, but I couldn't do it. It wasn't for me. My husband was watching my child when I had my baby. What is the dental school is like in general? First year is a little easier than the second year, in my opinion. First year is more theoretical when you join clinics in the second year, and it's a little more intense because you do have to pass all of the upcoming exams that you need for graduation. You have your CDCA, which is a multiple exams, which require very intense preparation. In my opinion, CDCA was much harder than NBDE. It is practical. You do have to spend time in the lab. You do have to practice your hand skills. So you can't just sit there studying at home. You actually have to be somewhere away for a long time. So the second year was definitely much more difficult. There's still classes, there's still exam, but there are also clinics, and there's also CDCA and exam preparation. So you have the triple load of everything. If you're having a kid, that's why I'm saying have it earlier. That is the worst time to actually have a child. It's a big transition with a newborn. At least if you had it earlier, it's your second year, you're already kind of gotten used to it. Yes, it's a toddler, but it's much easier to give them to a daycare at that age. You already have your rhythm figured out with all that, when you don't have to deal with important exams that you need for graduation. If you don't pass them, you're not going to get your license. You're going to have to spend another year in dental school, and you do not want that. So second year is definitely more difficult than the first year. And another thing that I wanted to kind of bring to your attention, if you are planning to have a kid during the program, you have to be selective with your program. Why? If you're applying to schools that have their own class, for example, like BU, the school that I went to, we had our own class, just the cohort of advanced standing students. We did not join the Americans at any point, so we did not become part of the class with American students. So we had our own curriculum at the entire length of the program. That is not beneficial for you, because there we are not just kind of joining them and following their rhythm. We always have our own exams. We had classes with we didn't have classes with first years. We had classes with second years, we had classes with third years and fourth years at the same time. And we were in clinics as well. We didn't have a particular group that we just followed the curriculum with, which would have been easier. I think it's one of the only schools actually that has this system. There are other schools that are similar, but BU is kind of the most demanding. Even though it's a great school and it's one of the cheapest schools in the country, it's a great school, but if you're planning to have a kid at the same time, that's probably not going to be the best one for you. So might consider taking a program where you actually join the class, because there you will still have the CDCA in the second year, but you might start clinics earlier there. You might start clinics in the first year, and you might start on your requirements in that first year as well, because requirements are usually pretty difficult to pick up, and sometimes you have to rush and scramble to find. And if you're joining the American cohort, they just followed their curriculum, so the amount of the exams tapers off at the end of the second year, so you have time to prepare for the exams. When you have your own class, like in BU for example, the amount of exams never stops. It always very intense pace. Also, another thing to take a look at and kind of consider when you're choosing a school is what's their schedule like, because in BU for example you worked Monday through Saturday, so you were in school for 6 days a week. That's probably not the best idea. If you have a kid, you would want to have a school that has Saturdays and Sundays off, that has less patients per day. For example, in University of Oklahoma, you would have 2 patients per day. You would have a much lighter, easier schedule than when in BU we had 3 patients per day with a 3-hour appointment of 3 hours, and we would be in school until 7 p.m., which was not the case in Oklahoma. It was much easier back then, so people were actually wanted to have children back then in school because it was lighter. So just be more selective with the school. Talk to the students when you go for an interview and ask them, what's your day like? Just when are you done with school? When are you usually going home? Do you work Saturdays? How many patients per day do you see? How long is the patient appointment and stuff like that, just so you know for yourself in your head approximately what your day is going to look like. And if you're planning to have a kid, the more time at home you have and the more things you can do from home, of course, it's the better for you. So now we kind of discussed that. We discussed the rhythm of advanced standing programs. We discussed what year is easier to have the kid, first or second. Usually it's set 2 years, 2.5 years, so they do vary in length, but not significantly. Now we're going to talk about American cohort. So 4-year program. What is the easiest time to have a kid in a 4-year program? If you're an American, married or not, I don't know, I don't judge here, but whatever. When a 4-year program, what time is the easiest one for them? First year technically is the easiest. But because it's new, because you're just starting in medicine, you have never done that before, it's probably not the best time for you. Give yourself time to acquaint yourself with just the entire program. It's very different from college. So second year would be the best time in my opinion, because you don't have your INBD exam, you don't have to take the boards yet, you don't have clinics yet where you have to kind of account for the patients. You're just having this theoretical time and you have a lot of time where you can study from home. There's a lot of like downtime there. So second year is the easiest generally in dental school. When it comes to third year, you're starting clinics. That's a big adjustment. You kind of get used to it by the second semester, but when it comes to clinics, it's really important for you to start getting your requirements early. If you get pregnant in this third year time, you have to understand that you have to start hunting down your requirements. You can't be lax about them. You have to actively look for patients that you are required to complete, that have the procedures that you need for your graduation. Because if you just got pregnant, then you will be delivering later, you will want to stay home. The amount of exam tapers off in the end of the 4th year, or just in the 4th year in general for you guys, and then you just will have to pick up your requirements. If you're done with your requirements, you don't have to come to school. You can just stay home, and that would be ideal for you. So if you got pregnant in your 3rd year, work hard whilst you're pregnant to collect all those requirements, so when you actually do have the baby, you can actually chill at home without having any exams and without having any requirements to complete. With everything being done, you're just sitting there and waiting for your graduation, which is also possible in advanced standing program, but there is more exams there just because of the length of the program and how compressed it is. So that's all I have to say for Americans. You guys are younger usually than we are. It's up to you, but usually this is how it goes. First year is the easiest because there's no clinics, but it is new, so it's difficult for you to adjust. So not the first year. Second year is easiest. There's no clinics. There's just studying. You already know how to study. You already kind of figured it out for yourself. So it's the most comfortable and quiet year. Third year is when you start clinics. Fourth year is you have all your board exams. You have CDCA, which is, in my opinion, the most difficult exam I have ever taken in my life. It's just kind of an endurance test, and you don't want to be pregnant during that because there's no endurance when you're pregnant, and you don't want to have a kid during that time because you want to be studying pretty well for it because you don't want to fail. So that's kind of my 5 cents on the American class. Let's talk about residency programs now. So residency programs are a little bit different. With the residency programs, you can actually get a maternity leave because you're technically employed. You're kind of in between an employee of the university and a student there. So you can get a maternity time off, which is amazing, which makes residency one of the best times, I guess, to have a kid, because you do have that time off. You still have patients, you still have exams, but you actually have an opportunity to leave and have some downtime with your newborn when you have a kid in residency. Not all residency are like that, but for example, I know for a fact that Tufts does that and BU does that. They do have maternity leaves. You don't have to give your patients away or anything, but it depends on your residency, basically. It depends on their schedule. Every residency program is different. I do know somebody who had a kid during a pros residency, and I do know somebody who had a child in pediatric dentistry residency. Her child was very small. She was 1 year old, but she didn't have her during pregnancy. But when it comes to pediatric dentistry, oral surgery, and residency programs like this, you have to know that you are on call during those programs. So if you're planning to have a kid during a residency, see their curriculum. On call hours means you're in the hospital in the middle of the night. That is not the best time to have a newborn, to have a young kid. Like 1 year olds already, you don't have to feed them overnight, and they usually sleep through the night. So kind of, if you see that the residency program has a on-call time, then it's probably not the best time for you to have a child who wakes up during the night and needs you during the night. Either have a kid earlier or wait until that part of your life is over. Oral surgery is a completely different bag of beans. I don't know why, but Americans really disrespect their surgeons, and they think that those people have to just kind of die on their job. It is not the case in Russia or in Europe. I don't know why you guys decided that the surgeons are the worst people in the world and they just need to be worked to the ground. But that is the case. So if you're looking at oral surgery, good luck. The schedule, even in dental school, when you're in your oral surgery rotation, you have to be there at like 7 a.m. It's ridiculous. User discretion is advised. It is really, really tough to be a surgeon here. I would not recommend having a kid there because it's already really, really stressful. It was stressful to just have a class in oral surgery, a rotation in oral surgery. It is double as stressful because you have to have med school classes, you're on call all the time. Would I have a kid there? No. Even though surgery was one of my favorite classes, and I am a surgeon generally, I did not choose to pursue that route here because I knew it didn't align with my family goals. It didn't align with what I wanted to do. When I started dental school here, I do want to be a surgeon, and I do a fair amount of surgery here now. I extract like 3-4 teeth per day. I do implants. I do pretty much everything that a private practice oral surgeon would do, but I didn't go to surgery residency. I do other things as well. as a general dentist. So that's not the kind of the subject of should you or should you not be an oral surgeon. I'm sorry about the lighting here. I'm just kind of sitting in a dark corner and it changes, but I'm sure you will forgive me. You know, I'm pretty lax video maker by this time. I've been making it for so long, and I have a toddler, full-time job, and I'm pregnant, so you can forgive me for being a little lazy with my setup. I'll try to fix it in the future. But this is basically my 5 cents on residency programs. So the things that you have to look at when you decide to have a child in residency is 1, are there on-call hours? B, is there maternity leave? If there's maternity leave, it's usually really not a problem. You can just have a child and be like a regular working mom. You wouldn't notice if you're a residency or not. And of course, if there are on-call hours, you have to decide when to pick a time to have a child so you don't have a waking newborn at the time where you have to may or may not be at the hospital. So those are my 5 cents on residencies. Now let's talk about work. So when you graduate, you're gonna be very happy with yourself, you're gonna be super proud, and you're gonna go and look for a job. What is the time to have a kid? So basically, if you just graduated, go work now. Don't wait, because you have the skills now. You just learned everything. You want to find a job. Trust me. You want to secure a job so you don't have any gaps on your resume. You want to get your hand speed. You want to be speedy with your work. You want to use the skills that you just learned in dental school, and you want to apply them immediately. You just basically don't want to lose it. You want it to become your routine. You want to learn to work fast. And my best advice, don't take a gap year. Don't graduate, wait a year, and start looking for a job. Look for a job right now. Understand that there are contracts when you are applying for an associate position. They're usually a year long. If you're starting a job, you are usually signing a contract that is a year long. Depending on a position, read the contract in general all the time. Be very careful with what you're signing. But take a look at when you're allowed to have a maternity leave. As a law, you can have a maternity leave at any time and they can't say no. It's kind of rude just in my opinion, is just rude. If you're, for example, the only doctor in the practice, this is my situation right now. I found a job when I was pregnant, right? I knew that I was gonna leave soon. I'm the only doctor in the practice. Well, hi guys, I just started a job here, but I have to leave in a few months for like an unknown amount of time, like 3 months or whatever the maternity leave is. I wouldn't know, I never had one. I'm just gonna leave you right now. So it's just kind of a rude thing to do, right? When you just graduated, you wanna have a kid right now. That's not the best idea to do. So if you can have a kid right after graduation, that's okay, but then look at the practice you are applying to. Don't apply to a mom and pop shop, basically, where you're going to be the only dentist, or there are two dentists that you leaving for a prolonged period of time will cause trouble to the practice. As a practice owner, as a person who owned a practice, I'm begging you, don't put the owner of the practice into that position, because it's extremely difficult to find somebody temporarily to cover for you for a few months. It is borderline impossible. It's very, very hard to find somebody who's looking for just a temporary, a few months dentist position. Trust me. And if you're one of the only, like, one or two doctors in the practice, you leaving will significantly affect the income of the practice. Will it significantly affect the flow of work, because they still have to pay the assistant. It's not the assistant's fault. If you have an assistant and a hygienist, it's not their fault that you had a baby, right? You will still be paid. It's a government. They have to keep you. But think what you're doing to them. They have to spend all these money because those people didn't do anything wrong, but they don't have a doctor in the practice. What are they going to do? They're going to lose a ton of money. So I started my job when I was first trimester, very early pregnant, and it's going to be like more than half a year that I worked in the practice where I work now, and I'm taking only 2 weeks off because I know the practice is not going to survive. And it's okay with me. It's my second kid. I am seasoned. I know what I'm doing. I'm not worried about that at all. And actually, this is my second. So I have a toddler who's a 1-year-old. They're going to be 21 months apart. And I have a newborn. I want to be the hell out of there. I want to see adults. I'm okay. I work only 2 days a week. No one's going to die. And it's okay with me. I just want to recover after birth and go straight back to work. If that's your case, good for you. But if you're planning to have a kid in that first year of work, be more picky with what job you're getting, because go for something bigger, go for more corporate positions, go for clinics that have multiple doctors, so your absence wouldn't cause so much trouble to the business, to the business owner. And I know it's not like your problem technically, but just don't be a douchebag, right? Be a good person. And I'm telling you this as a person who owned a practice and knows how hard it is and what financial toll it is to people. So just consider it. Just something to think about for you if you're planning to have a kid right after dental school in that first year when you graduate. So in my opinion, the best time, the best time is kind of a year after you graduated. Like 1 year after you had your time to work, you know what you're doing, you're confident in your skills, you're independent, your practice knows you where you chose to work, they like you, the patients know you, they're comfortable with you leaving for a little bit, they're not gonna miss you too much. The second year after graduation is just the best time to have a kid. When you're comfortable, you're settled, it's long enough for you to actually prepare yourself for your successful career, for your career to wait for you after you return from your maternity leave. So now let's talk about buying a practice and when is a good time to buy a practice when you have a kid. And I again have that experience. That I can talk a lot about that. That's the experience that I had because I bought my practice 8 months pregnant, I think, and had a kid right away and started working right away. So I didn't have maternity leave. I basically gave birth to my child, went straight to the office. Let me tell you what being a practice owner is. It's like being in school and being at work at the same time, but also you are responsible for people's livelihoods. Do not have a practice and a kid at the same time. And I'm going to talk about practice ownership in the future and being a practice owner as a woman, being a practice owner as a mother in my future videos, because it's its own subject and I do have a lot to say. And there are good parts and bad parts there as well. And you have to be very picky, of course, with what practice you're buying. And this is a completely separate video. But here's my experience with owning a practice right after having a baby. I did have a lot of support. My mom moved in kind of like half a year after I had a kid. She didn't move in with us, but she moved into America so she could take care of a child. My husband works from home, so when I was going to work, he was taking care of the baby. First year was pretty easy because she was just sleeping. We formula fed. She had an allergy. It's like a whole thing. So we didn't breastfeed. We had to go to the formula. I wasn't needed. I didn't need to pump at work. I didn't need to find that time. It was not difficult to feed her. So somebody was at home so they could feed her formula. So for her, it wasn't difficult. She was totally okay. And my husband really was okay because she didn't need that much attention. He could do his from home work pretty easily. So the first year went very smoothly, but it's the second year when she was 1 and she was coming up to that later. When she started walking, it became incredibly difficult because she became aware who mom is. She didn't say the word mama, until I sold my practice. She didn't say that. And she said Dada, she said Joseph, which is the name of our dog, but she didn't say mama because she didn't have the concept of mama. She didn't see me. I worked full time. I left before she woke up. So I had a little bit of a drive to my practice. We started work at 8. I would leave my house around 6, 7. It's a long drive. So it's like probably, no, not even 7. I would leave it like 6 because I have about an hour drive, traffic and everything. And I wanted to be there a little bit early. So she didn't see me in the morning and I would come home. We worked until 5, but I always was the last one to be in the practice and last one to close. I also always had work to like paperwork, computer work to do. So I would come home after she was asleep. So there were multiple days where I didn't see my child at all. I didn't see her. When she was a newborn, of course I missed her, and on my days off I would cuddle her, but she didn't have this, she wasn't like plugged into the matrix yet. She didn't understand what was going on. But when she started understanding it, it started really breaking my heart. I started taking more days off just to be home with her, which took a toll on the financial aspects of the practice, of course, because the doctor isn't there. And we filled the schedule of this. Assistant was still there, and there were bleachings that we did or procedures that only assistant can do without me present in the practice. So we kind of filled out those days. But still, you're a business owner. You have taxes, you have bills, you have problems. We had floods, we had fires, we had issues with the building, with things that are not related to dentistry at all that you have to solve. And it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if you're day off. We had a flood, a terrible flood, and I had to just drop everything and go to the clinic, and I stayed there overnight. When I was pregnant with my second, I was like, you know what? I don't think I want my life to be this way. I don't want to do that. I don't want my kids to grow up without saying a word mama. And that's why I decided to sell my practice. And again, I think I'm gonna make a separate video on why I bought and sold my practice. We're gonna discuss that in more details, but this is kind of my 5 cents on practice ownership and having young kids. I went to CE courses and stuff, and where I met women who are practice owners and talked to them, and they're like, yeah, it was really hard, but we had kids during owning a practice. This is how it is. You have a life, and you don't adjust your life to your child adjusts their life to you. And there's nothing, and it's normal, it's okay. And there are a lot of misconceptions about it as I started my motherhood journey. A lot of people think that you have to completely change your life and just sit there and tell your child that you have to put blocks in this like block shape sorter, and like, no, don't put square in a circle here. You have to sit them on the floor for hours with them and just be like, your child becomes your entire life. I don't believe that's true. I do believe that the child should adapt to your life, but choose your time. It does require planning. It does require thought, and you can make your life easier. You can make beginning of your motherhood is the most important part. And having a young child is the happiest time you will ever have. When you grow old, you will think of this time as the good old days. Do you want your good old days to be tamed by the fact that you had to be somewhere and respond to some retarded, idiot, stupid professor who just wants this just sharp edge a little bit smoother, and you have to sit there for 3 more hours or retake an exam that you could have passed just because somebody wanted you, because somebody has so much toll on your life right now because you're in dental school, or because you have to be on call, even though you want to be a pediatric dentist. You're in a private practice, you're not going to be on call your entire life, but you have to be on call in this particular part of your life. Do you want your memories to be tamed by that or not? It is your decision, and I'm not going to say it's good or bad, but this is the information that I have. And this is from one mother to another, or future mother, or whoever you are, from one woman to another, these are my 5 cents on my perspective on having children in dentistry, on having your life as a woman in dentistry. Everybody has opinions about motherhood, and there's so much. If you want to leave a mean comment about my parenting, sure do, but I'm gonna delete it, just letting you know right away. I am 6 months pregnant. I don't have patience for this, but I do wish you all the best, all of the best things in the world, and I hope you found this video helpful. And good luck with dental school, good luck with motherhood. It's an amazing journey. Both of them are amazing journeys, and you're definitely gonna enjoy them. Subscribe to my channel. I've been around here for a very long time, guys. I'm a professional at YouTube conversations, but I'm just not very consistent, and I'm sure when you had kids, you understand that. But I'm gonna be back, and it was a pleasure talking to you today, and thank you so much, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.